Michael Duignan has been voted in as chairman of Offaly. He's after ousting Tommy Birr. So just to run through, Brian Lowry had it on Twitter, all the different changes in the executive. So chairman Michael Duignan, vice chair James Murphy, secretary Pat Horgan, assistant secretary is vacant, treasurer is Derval Dolan, assistant treasurer vacant, PRO vacant, coaching officer Martin Cashin, and the cultural officer and children's officer vacant. We'll start off with the most high profile thing. That's Michael Duignan, county legend, in as chairman. You, as a fellow Offaly man, are you happy with this?
Yeah, I would be happy enough, to be honest with you, because Tommy Birr said in the build-up to it, and with various interviews he did, that he could stand over his record, as chairman. And I'm kind of thinking, like what exactly is your record? We've disappeared off the face of the hurling earth, basically. Manager debacles, Stephen Wallace, Kevin Martin axed mid-season, this kind of thing. So I think change was needed badly. Just on Duignan getting in firstly, I'd say when he put his name out there, and I would have been sceptical enough, because there's so much politics in particularly conventions and things like that. You're thinking you're batting against a fair amount of votes before you even start. You're starting minus 50 or minus 60. That's just the way it is. And he went around the houses, met 3 or 4 clubs at a time, in a lot of cases, whereas Tommy Birr met clubs on an individual basis, or made calls on an individual basis. And whatever Michael Duignan was selling, his kind of vision that he was selling, seems to have been very well received, particularly in South Offaly, where I'm from, my part of the county. A lot of the clubs around Birr, Sir Kieran, Coolderry, Shinrone, Kinnity, all those clubs would have really rode in behind him. It's a fair achievement, because about 6 weeks ago nobody really thought anybody was going against him, and now he's after usurping him. So it's a fair achievement.
Is it a vote more for Duignan, or is it a vote to move out Tommy Birr?
I'd say a lot of it is a vote for change, and even in Michael Duignan's manifesto, he was a lot of it was change, to seek change and affect a bit of change in Offaly. So that is a lot of it, to be honest with you. Michael Duignan coming in, if Michael Duignan hadn't got in, the 3 guys that were running with him were going to pull out. It was kind of an all or nothing kind of a job. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, by Michael Duignan getting in, I'm not 100% sure if that's because of it, but there have been a few positions that are vacant now as a result of that. So
the likes of Mary Dunn.
Mary Dunn, anyone who's been in O'Connor Park or been to any Offaly match in the last 20 years would have seen Mary there. And I don't know how many people follow her Twitter updates. If you literally need to know any match to Offaly, she's there, and you will find out straight away on Twitter. So she's going to be a massive loss. And Brian Flynn, who would have come in as assistant treasurer, and by all accounts had done a really, really good job, a lot of really good changes in the Fermanagh club in the last 10 or 15 years. He's now kind of parted ways as well. So they're 2 big losses. I'd imagine the swell of support that Duignan will bring, and that he will bring a lot of new faces with him. The fact that he's gone and met clubs in 3s and 4s, and a lot of the time it was 4 or 5 people from each club, so he had 20 people in the room, and I know that he was kind of taken aback by the enthusiasm of people. So I'd imagine he's going to tap into a lot of that in the different clubs that he met.
Okay, so from the outside looking in, Offaly have been a joke for the last number of years. Well, no, honestly, I'm not actually just saying that.
This is the man that slated you in Brendan's Park to me that day. He's a real idiot or something. He's going to love this.
Yeah, but realistically, in the last number of years, Offaly were
in the news for all the wrong reasons. Exactly what you don't want.
You were constantly kind of the butt of the joke, I would say, to some degree. Once you got past the seriousness of the fact that here's a county's fortunes are plummeting, it just became a bit of a joke at some stage. What are the main things that Michael Duignan needs to do to bring through the change that he's talking about?
Get a lot of good people in there working, number one. The same as any other club. He needs to probably talk to the clubs. He needs to find out what their problems are. He needs to get into the schools, which is, to be fair, and it's the one thing he's kept saying, it's clubs and schools, and schools. And that is really the big thing. I'd imagine he's going to tap into an awful lot of different people in an awful lot of different clubs. And this isn't just a hurling thing either. Far from it. Michael Duignan played football at the same time he was playing a hurling senior for Offaly. So he's going to tap into, I'd imagine, clubs all around the county. Just try and get some sort of we've never really had a plan that we're operating on. It's very off the cuff. It's very reactionary a lot of the time. So, but the only thing I would say is about plan. The plans that are going to be put in place need to be implemented. There have been plans. We'd say the hurling pathway plan is there, but is not necessarily been implemented. Plans that are made are great, but have to be implemented. And that seems to be the one thing that he's kept coming back to. Funnily enough, and it's not funny or anything, but one of his other running mates, Colin Cummins, who would be very, very well regarded, I think he was chairman of Eden Dairy Club when he was 26 and put a lot of plans in place. And just on that, they've employed Mairead Daly, the ladies football star in Offaly, as the first basically paid kind of, is it GPO or GDA? Sorry, Games Development
Administrator?
Yeah, administrator, I think, yeah. And so that's the type of vision I'd imagine. He's not after being brought in on the committee directly because he lost the vote to James Murphy very tight. But imagine he will come in and head up a lot of the planning that will be going on.
And do you think the likes of, James who's staying on, and like Tommy Byrne would have been his man beforehand?
No, James came in as vice chairman.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixed up. But there are other people that are there from the Tommy Byrne era. Is that in any way, shape or form going to cause any friction, or do you think people are just grown up enough to say, let's get on with it, it's for the betterment of Offaly?
Yeah, no, I don't think there'll be any friction, and to be honest with you, the couple of people that have walked away, maybe that's because of possible friction, I don't know, but that's reading between the lines. And I'd imagine if there was going to be any friction with the executive that are still there from previous years, that they would have walked away.
So in a broad sense now, you're looking at Offaly and you think the football inside, John Mahan is there, that's a big name, a good name, people seem happy enough from the outside looking in again. Michael Fennelly's there as the hurling coach, or hurling manager, that started off well. Now we've got a fresh voice in Michael Duignan. Feels like all of a sudden, for once, Offaly could be moving in the right direction.
Well, people are talking about Offaly in positive terms now, which is good. John Martin kind of steadied the ship with the footballers. Like, they wouldn't have been far off been in the last 12. They're thereabouts at least for 55 minutes. Michael Fennelly coming in, there's a good optimism. I would again say the biggest problem that we've had is that the best players haven't been in on the county panel. Invariably they are at the moment, the majority of them are. So there's two positive. Now you have a chairman coming in, you'd imagine there'd be a bit of a bounce from that. Like it's a 5-year term as chairman. You'd imagine that there'd be a big, I don't know if there'd be a honeymoon period, but you'd imagine that there would be a lot of positivity and optimism at the moment.
Michael himself said on Midlands Radio afterwards that he thinks the honeymoon period will be short enough, like in the modern world.
There's not time in Offaly for any honeymoon period.
Yeah.
It just needs to be slash bam. They need to get down to an awful lot of hard work basically, and the first thing, the hard work, is filling those positions that aren't filled at the moment. But I'd imagine, as I said, from talking to the clubs like he has, that he will have identified or they would have thought of a couple of people that might be able to identify for those roles.
And of course, it's not like it was a whitewash, it was a fairly close vote. And Pat Nolan from the Irish Mirror, he's certainly not a Tommy Byrne man. I think we've seen that over the years. But he did have an interesting comment on Michael Duignan, who said, first of all, Will O'Callaghan had tweeted, Michael Duignan says he won't be involved in analysis of Offaly games with RT, but still hopes to get a new contract as a co-commentator with the Sunday game. Now obviously Offaly aren't going to be on TV that much, because
the only game Offaly will have on TV is possibly the
final,
the Christy Ring final, and that'll be live on TG Carter actually.
But Pat Nolan of the Irish Mirror, who's an Offaly man, he goes, Sunday game, League Sunday, Morning Ireland, etc. 30 odd newspaper columns a year, all where you're expected to comment on a broad range of GAA issues, including the affairs of current counties, significant conflict of interest regardless of how it's spun. He's obviously referring to Michael Duignan having all those things on his plate. And can you do all of those things while being the county chairman? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't see there's been a significant conflict of interest. There is a slight conflict of interest of sorts, but like the Sunday game, he's a co-commentator. He's basically the blow-by-blow man. He's calling what's going on during the matches a lot of the time. League Sunday, he won't be in the studio for League Sunday. He'll be maybe out doing a match as well. I wouldn't expect him to be on Morning Ireland like maybe he has been in the past, where he's been, on the Monday morning where they talk to him, or if something was after happening, big in the county. I wouldn't expect that to continue. His columns are always enlightening enough, I'd say. A lot of that will be about matches as well. It will be previewing matches. I'd say if the 30 columns, I'd say 25 will be previewing matches or talking about players, and then maybe in the off season a bit there could be other bits going on there. But I don't think it's as much of a conflict of interest as Pat's kind of making out to be there. Okay, so in general, things are looking up? Yeah, hopefully, yeah. A lot will tell in the next 2 months who fills those positions, and I know, like, something happened in our own club maybe 4 or 5 years ago where we'd get a lot of new faces in as well, and you're kind of chasing your tail for a bit, but by March, April, you'd hope to see that they have some sort of a plan launched, that you have good people filling all those positions, that things start to take a good bit of shape. Hopefully they will.
And you can maybe climb up past Laois against Westmeath, against Carlow, teams that you probably feel you should be ahead of.
Well, what I will say about that is, like, we're not in a good position, but they should be winning the Christie Ring. They should have a very good chance of winning 2A. All those things will help what's going on in the background as well. If what's going on the pitch is positive, what's going on in the background will be, it'll just be given a bit of a spur. But if we're beaten in the Christie Ring and we don't get out of Division 2A, then people start looking at, Duignan's gone in there, what's he done?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it'll be interesting. I have to say, like, in this case, I have to say a change is a very, very positive thing.